Welcome, Birds fans, to another episode of the Iggles Nest podcast. I am your host, Sean Harrigan, here to break down this latest Eagles game as the Eagles took on the San Francisco 49ers in Sunday Night Football action, pulling out their first win of the season. Only took a couple weeks to get there, but here we are, finally in the win column. Not a bad way to start off the new work week with a good feeling on Monday morning. So I'm here to going to be breaking all that down. If you are new to the show, thank you so much for finding us. Make sure you are subscribed to all of our social media at the Iggles Nest. Make sure you're also subscribed to us on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast platform of choice. All our stuff can be found everywhere. So thank you for, like I said, joining us. If you're new to the show, usually, I do a pregame, a halftime, and a postgame, and I kind of just mash them all up and put them together for the the full podcast version. I do a lot of stuff on Facebook Live, things like that. Just because this was a Sunday night game, up late, the game didn't end until 11:30 Eastern Standard Time here. I did skip the pregame and halftime stuff. So we're actually recording this Monday. So I've actually had a nice little amount of time to kind of sit and reflect on the outcome of that game last night and how things went the way that they did. So I'm gonna get into all of that. But like I said, Eagles coming out on top 25-20 over the Niners, upsetting the Niners in San Fran. The Eagles were not expected to pull out that game. Everybody's betting against them, but they were able to get the job done with essentially a practice squad. I mean, I don't know what else you want to label that offense as, when for the entirety of the game you had one legit healthy starting offensive lineman and Jason Kelce. Jason Peters is going out with mystery toe injuries, so he's out of the left tackle spot. We know Isaac Seumalo's been out. Brandon Brooks wasn't healthy enough to start the year or play this year, and Lane Johnson was in and out last night. He's got that ankle issue. It seems to be swelling up on him, so he was in and out of the lineup all night last night. Jack Driscoll had to come in again. But yeah, let's start there. I want to get to the different position groups, and we'll obviously start with the offense here today before we switch over to the defense, who really get my accolades for this past game. But starting with the offensive line. It was very encouraging to see Jordan Mailata come in to play for Jason Peters and have a relatively strong game. Yeah, this guy's, like 6'8", 345. I mean, the guy's just a tank. He hasn't really been able to get on the field just because he's not a classically trained football player. I think he's an Australian rugby guy. So he's been kind of learning the game since he's been brought in here for the last 3 years. So it was good to see him out there. And I'm not saying he had a perfect game. I'm not saying he held up extremely well against that pass rush. Carson was running for his life back there at times, having the pocket collapse around and things like that. So Doug had to be creative with his game plan, which he was able to do, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I'd say by and large, I was pretty happy with Jordan Mailata's performance, especially for this being his first start and coming along as he has. So we really got to give him some hats off there. And the rest of the line, I mean, like I said, Carson was in distress quite often, quite frequently, and within a second and a half. And when you're pairing that with a group of, and that's the next position group we'll get into here, when you pair that with the with the wide receiver group, your quote-unquote most experienced guy is Greg Ward. That goes a long way into understanding just maybe why Carson has had some of the issues that he has had this year in terms of being inaccurate, making bad throws, making bad decisions. When your most seasoned starting wide receiver is a converted quarterback to wide receiver that has been a lifelong practice squad player, I don't know what you're expecting him to really be able to work with there. I mean, you're spinning straw into gold at this point, and not to say that Greg Ward hasn't come in and played well. We saw what he did at the end of last year, and especially last night, getting more snaps. The first half, he was really all Carson had to go to besides Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders. So yeah, Greg Ward's doing a great job for the limited time or talent that he has here. But when you're starting a Deontay Burnett and I don't even know, I keep wanting to call the guy Fulcrum because his name looks like that. Fulgham, Travis Fulgham, who caught the touchdown pass that we'll get into as well. These are his receivers last night. I'll just go down the list. You had Fulgham. He did have that touchdown catch towards the end of the game. Beautiful delivery from Carson. Even more spectacular play. I mean, you don't have too many instances, especially this year so far, of guys really helping Carson out. It's one thing to be able to throw to a wide open receiver, but it's another thing to have a guy go out and help their quarterback out by making a nice play. So that's exactly what Fulgham was able to do on that play. Couldn't tell you a lick of information about the guy, and that goes a lot. Like I was saying, with what does Carson really have to work with? So he had two for 57. With that 42-yard touchdown catch there to put the Eagles up. Greg Ward, 4 for 38. Richard Rodgers stepping in for Dallas Goedert, 3 for 35. Miles Sanders, 2 for 30. Hightower, 2 for 22. Zach Ertz, I'm just saying this for the first time now, actually. 4 for 9. And one catch was 8 yards. I know he was really taken away, double team, things like that, because really the bulk of your offense in terms of your receiving game was Zach Ertz, it was Greg Ward and Miles Sanders. But that's what he had to really work with. He also hit the one of the backup receivers, Killens, who had an awful reverse that lost a lot of yards there too. He had one catch. So I mean, he hit 7 different receivers in that game with really no name cloud or star power to speak of. But this wasn't a highly offensive game either way. For both teams. If we look at Carson's line, 18 for 28, 193, a touchdown and a pick. That's not really knocking down the doors or anything. You're not going to jump out of your seats praising Carson up and down for being the greatest quarterback out there last night. But it was a very gutsy game, I thought. I finally was able to see Doug doing the things that I've been calling for on this show since the beginning of the year, in terms of changing the way that he is coaching Carson. If you're expecting Carson to be a stationary pocket quarterback, as we've seen over the past couple weeks, he's not going to get the job done, and especially with an offensive line that hasn't had a consistent starting lineup in any game this year, especially when you have a wide receiver core that's starting rookies and practice squad guys. You need to be able to play to the strengths of your quarterback, and as Carson's shown over the years past since he's been in this league, he's not a stationary pocket guy. He's not a traditional pocket passer. So when he's able to get outside the pocket and either make things happen with his legs or at least move the pocket, that does him a lot of service. So Doug is finally subscribing to the Eagles Nest podcast here and listening to what I had to say. I really feel like I bent his ear. I really do, because the things that I've been calling for, bootlegs or even different motions and stuff, whether it's working or not, at least you're showing your opponent that you're willing to be different and that they're going to have to play you differently. They just can't sit there in their base defense and snuff out every single play that you're doing because you're running the same formations and plays over and over again. That's just not how you're going to be able to be successful offensively in this league. Yeah, so I got to give a lot of hats off to Carson, not only for playing the quarterback position well, but just taking things above and beyond him. Really taking charge, putting the team on his back right there last night, and really coming out with a nice performance. We can say the stats aren't the greatest, but he put up 2 touchdowns. The interception, not a good play, not a good pass, is what it is. But at least it was only 1 this time, wasn't 2. So that's a good thing. Maybe next week it'll be 0. I've also had a little bit of issue, and now I'm still waiting to see what the exact reasoning is. But it doesn't seem like, especially in the second half, Miles Sanders really was called on to be a big part of the offense. We look at his rushing numbers, just 13 for 46, which is a far cry from the 95 yards that he's put up since he's been in the lineup. Longest rush of the night was just 9 yards. Yeah, I don't know. And Doug kind of talked about this last week with him coming in and out of the lineup, maybe just not being totally up to speed, since coming back from his injury, not being up to game shape from not having a training camp and preseason, things like that. If it is just fatigue and not being in game shape, yeah, that's one thing. So hopefully, he can get himself out of that after the next couple weeks at least. But you hope it's not anything more pressing. Maybe he's not still injured or facing some kind of new injury. So we will have to wait and see about that. The rest of your running backs, again, gave you nothing. Corey Clement, 2 rushes for 3 yards. Boston Scott, 2 rushes for 1 yard. So, with the lack of a backup running back, it's going to fall on Carson Wentz to be able to do it with those legs too. 7 for 37 last night again. Last week he came alive as well. He has 3 touchdowns in the last couple weeks running the ball. You tried to sprinkle in Jalen Hurts in there with some more gadget plays. He 3 for 18 last night with another second fumble in as many weeks for Jalen Hurts as well. And you can kind of see it on his face whenever he's coming back out of the game. You kind of feel for the guy coming in for one play and then maybe he'll get in again, maybe not, and it'll be like an hour until he gets in again. So, not really getting the most out of your second round draft pick there, Howie. Good call. It's really adding not much to this offense, and it disrupts the dynamic and the flow of the game as well. So I don't know, but other than the touchdown to Fulgham, that beautiful pass that he was able to keep himself in bounds too. I know Chris Collinsworth was kind of alluding to maybe he stepped out of bounds, things like that, but he made an incredible play, be able to get the toes down as well as stay in bounds. So, working with whatever he has in terms of the receiving core, these guys wouldn't be starting on any other team in the league for the most part. So, our practice squad offense beat another. And not to say the Niners don't have their own set of injuries. I mean, you're missing a Nick Bosa and things like that as well. So, they can certainly attest to some of the injury woes that we've had not only this season but over the last couple of years. It's very difficult to play in this league with backups and practice squad guys and things like that. When it came down to a game like this, as our backups were a little bit better than their backups last night. Especially if we go to the other side of the ball here, as we're going to start talking about the defense, who I believe had an extremely strong performance for about 90% of the game. Nick Mullins coming in to start over Jimmy Garoppolo, who's still dealing with the injury. This is a guy who's been kind of touted all week, especially different guys, like guys like Ray Didinger, really, bright football minds who, came in praising this guy up and down. 18 for 26 for 200 last night. He had the 1 touchdown with a nice scoring drive, 2 picks. The defense really was able to finally get their first takeaways of the season. Sacks, fumbles, interceptions. They really did a great job of getting pressure to Mullins, keeping him confused. If it weren't for Kittle, I mean, they really didn't have much else going for them in terms of their offense. George Kittle, 15 for 183 in the touchdown. I mean, he absolutely murdered you, and it 15 catches on 15 targets as well. I mean, he dropped the 2-point conversion. But the guy was uncoverable all night. It didn't matter if you had a linebacker on him, a corner, a safety. It didn't matter. You could put 5 guys on the guy. He was still catching the ball and coming down with it. But the rest of their guys didn't really do a lot. McKinnon had some screens out of the backfield. Deebo Samuel and Ayuk had that crazy touchdown with the hurdle over Marcus Epps. But their passing game really wasn't there. It wasn't there until Mullins was benched, and they brought in C.J. Beathard, and he brought the team right down and scored a touchdown, which was the most infuriating, probably drive of the game, to where we did just go ahead and score, and it looked really good on offense there, especially with that bomb to Fulgham. And then you immediately let the third string quarterback come in and take his guys right down the field and get it back. Now, obviously, they didn't get the 2 point, which put them in a weird position because they had to score another touchdown to be able to make it a game. They couldn't go for the field goal and still be okay. Really, really infuriating there with Jim Schwartz's defense. But other than that, I mean, the other touchdown drive that they did have, with Ayuk, I think the defense held up extremely well. Like I said, they got to Mullen numerous times. They were able to pick him off twice. They were able, also with a fumble. Crayvon LeBlanc came in there with the got his head on, got a hat on the ball, right? Got a hat on the man, got a hat on the ball, and was able to knock it loose with his head, and the rest is history. I couldn't tell you who the guy is out of the Canadian League. Alex Singleton coming in. TJ Edwards got hurt, so he came in. He had a gift thrown right in his chest. I don't know. That could be considered a Carson Wentz type play from this year, I guess. For the pick six there, which is, funnily enough, a little bit before that, the LeBlanc fumble in our group chat with a couple of my buddies, I had come out and said, we need to get this ball back. I want to see a sack fumble recover for a touchdown. So we had the sack fumble. We didn't score off of it right like that, but then the next drive we actually did get the pick six too. So I had my little Nostradamus hat on there for what it's worth. That was pretty cool. But really, real big hats off to the defense there for playing extremely well. Outside of those couple drives where they did manage to put some points on the board. A real battle of attrition though. I mean, you had all injuries on both sides. Eagles a little bit more banged up than the Niners are, but we still did have our starting quarterback in there, and they didn't, which I guess that kind of outweighs having George Kittle to throw to rather than John Hightower or Richard Rodgers or Travis Fulgham or Greg Ward. So I'll take Kittle over those guys all day, every day of the week. So not the most exciting game, not especially in the first half. 8 points on the board. Not any kind of a barn burner for any stretch of the imagination, but the Eagles, I was very happy to see, like I said, Doug making the adjustments that I've certainly been calling for over the past 3 weeks. Really getting Carson involved in moving the pocket, getting outside the pocket, being able to just tuck the ball and run. I also think Carson made some better decisions in terms of getting rid of the ball, not taking. I mean, he did take some sacks, both that were and were not his fault. We still need to be able to limit that and stop that from happening. But by and large, when you take out the interception, he didn't put the team in a bad position by and large. The numbers, like we said, aren't the flashiest numbers. He doesn't have a perfect quarterback rating by any stretch of the imagination, anything like that. But he was able to get the job done. And when you're playing to not only just your quarterback but your team's strengths, then you are like the thing that Andy Reid constantly said. Anytime we lost, I need to put the guys in a better position to win. Well, that is actually putting your guys in a better position to win, playing to their strengths, coaching to their strengths. You're trying to have Carson sit back in the pocket all day with an offensive line that's made of Swiss cheese and practice squad receivers. Well, then you're not putting your guys in the best position to win. So Doug actually practiced what he preached, finally. So I want to see more of that. I'm not saying you need to bootleg on every play that Carson's going to drop back to pass, but you at least need to make the defense be aware that you could be doing that. You need to at least show it and be okay to be showing that kind of thing. So I want to see that build upon. I want to see that done more frequently, more consistently. And I want better results. I don't want to see 18 for 28 for 193. Yeah, I want to see 25 for 32 for 315. I don't need you to throw 300 yards every game as long as you're winning. But yeah, at the same time, your stats should be reflective of your overall play. And yeah, when we're just talking about passing numbers and taking the 37 rushing yards and rushing touchdown out of the equation just as a pocket passer, that's not going to translate. So, um, maybe as the next couple weeks go by and he can start to build more chemistry with the guys that he has out there. It's tough when you don't have a preseason. It's tough when you don't have a training camp and you have all these injuries. You don't have your Deshaun Jacksons out there, your Alshon Jeffries. When and if they come back, we'll see, and what they're able to add, if anything, to this offense. That's kind of up in the air. But the guys that we have are really what we have to work with, and unless Howie can bring in some guy via trade, or I mean, you have a team of practice squatters anyway, so I guess you could pillage somebody from a practice squad somewhere around the league, but it remains to be seen. Real rough stretch, and it started here with the 49ers this week of our schedule upcoming. Next week we have the 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, and then we have the Ravens after that. Now I guess the optimist and you can look at Pittsburgh wins against the winless Giants. Looking at their the teams that they played haven't been the highest quality, and they're kind of letting teams hang around. They let the Broncos hang around. Maybe they're just playing down to their competition, but they do have that number 4 in the win column out of 4 games. So it'll be a real good test, and we're not facing a completely depleted team like ourselves and like the 49ers. While I'm not predicting a win right here, this could be another upset game where we're getting back to that that underdog mentality. So if the expectations are low and you have nothing to lose and you're just leaving it all out on the field, maybe that can kind of alleviate some of the pressure and just let you go out and play ball. Not worry about being perfect. Carson's going to have to understand that he's not going to be able to make the perfect pass every time. He's not going to have his receivers be exactly where they're supposed to be just because they're not experienced. So, and that all goes back to coaching as well. Doug understanding what he has and who he has out on the field, what their strengths are, and how he can best put them in a position to be successful. It started last night. It started with bootlegs and motions and showing different sets, whether they were successful or not. Like we said, the Killins, with that reverse that they showed late in the game, and he lost a bunch of yards. Maybe not the best time in the game to be doing it, and certainly not the results that you wanted. But at the same time, that puts something on tape. That lets the next team know that there's a possibility that you might run something like that at some point during that game. It's something that they're going to have to take some time to cover. And if they're covering something like that they're not covering something else. So it can't hurt to show your different sets and formations and play types like that. So that can only be a good thing. So I want to see Doug continue to evolve as a coach. I want to see Carson to continue to evolve as a quarterback, and I want to see this team win. I don't want to see this team making the playoffs at 6-9-1. I want to see them going in the opposite, 9-6-1 or 10-5-1, whatever the case is. So that's kind of where I am. Last night, overall, I'm honestly shocked that we did win that game. I thought we had no chance. I thought we'd get slaughtered. I expected really bad things, and that's not what we got. We got a pretty boring first half, and then the defense really helped out the offense, which is something they haven't done much of it all the last couple years. When you're able to flip the field and pick these balls off and either take them back to the house or at least put your offense in a better position to be able to cut the field in half and not be starting from their own 10-15 yard line every drive, that goes a long way. So people need to understand that it is a team game, and it took the entire team last night to be able to win that game. Offense, defense, special teams. So nice win, boys. I appreciate it. the fans of Philadelphia appreciate it. Every fan that's been in the stands this year appreciates it. So yeah, that's kind of going to wrap it up for my post-game analysis as we look forward to Pittsburgh next week. I do want to hear some of your thoughts and comments from the game last night, good, bad, and ugly. You can go ahead on any of our social media platforms at the Iggles Nest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you give us a follow, subscription, and yeah, leave your thoughts, leave your comments. I definitely want to hear from you. If you'd like to send in some questions for me to answer on the show, whether on Facebook Live or the podcast / video version for YouTube, make sure you send an email to theigglesnest@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer it. Yeah, I definitely want some feedback from you guys out there listening. Yeah, make sure you leave that stuff there. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform as well as YouTube. And for Sean Harrigan, Cinescape Media, make sure you go to Cinescape.media. Check out all the great podcasts and content that we have on the Cinescape Media Network. Wonderful things going on over there. So we thank everybody that's found the different shows and subscribe and our fans and all that good stuff. So we want more of that. We want some more fan interaction between this show, all the shows. So go ahead and subscribe today. Check that out, Cinescape.media. As we look forward to the Pittsburgh Steelers next week, the Battle of Pennsylvania, we'll have to see who's suiting up, who's not. Anybody they might take a flyer on, bring in throughout the week. Yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. But first place Birds here somehow. First win of the year puts them in first place over the Dallas Cowboys, who just can't seem to get out of their own way. I'm still gonna reserve my Cowboy shit talking until we play them the first time, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and have Dak throw for 500 yards on us and light us up. But at the same time, he couldn't not do that to the Browns yesterday too, losing that game. So their defense is really something to talk about there. But I digress. For myself, Sean Harrigan, for the Cinescape Media Network, I will see you guys next week. Until then, go Birds. Peace out.